Ever set a goal so big it excited you and terrified you at the same time? You imagined the victory, the applause, the success. But soon, the motivation wore off, the road got tough, and the dream felt distant again. That's the moment many people quit. But what if the secret isn't in chasing the goal, but in learning to fall in love with the process? This book offers one of the most profound mindset shifts you can make in your personal and professional life. Stop obsessing over outcomes. Instead, focus relentlessly on the process, the daily actions, habits, and systems that shape who you become. When you focus on the process, you build discipline. And discipline, not motivation, is what moves you forward when it gets hard. From athletes to entrepreneurs, from artists to everyday achievers, one thing is clear: success is never built overnight. It is carved slowly and intentionally through daily practice. Goals are great for direction, but processes are what get you there. If you aim only for the finish line, you'll miss the power of today. And that's what this book keeps bringing you back to. Today, this hour, this moment. The first key idea is that goals can sometimes become distractions. Think about it. You set a goal to lose 10 kilos. You start with a bang, maybe even hit the gym every day for a week. But then life gets busy. You miss a day, then another. Soon you're discouraged because you're still far from the goal. But if you focused on showing up and exercising for 30 minutes a day, regardless of progress, you'd build a system that works long term. You wouldn't need motivation. You'd just do it because it's part of who you are now. The process is about consistency. Small steps, repeated often, matter more than giant leaps taken once. You don't have to do it perfectly. You just have to keep showing up. The book breaks this down into something both practical and empowering. It teaches that progress is not always visible in the beginning. There are days when you'll feel like nothing is working, but growth is quiet. Habits build silently. Results take time. What matters is whether you've kept your promise to yourself today. One of the most powerful lessons is learning to detach from the outcome. Not because you shouldn't care about success, but because obsessing over the result can sabotage your mindset. When you're too focused on winning, you begin to fear losing. You second guess yourself. You compare your progress to others, you start measuring yourself by numbers instead of effort. But when you focus on the process, you gain peace. You control what you can. You let go of the rest. This doesn't mean you abandon ambition. It means you redefine success. Success becomes showing up, doing the work, learning, improving, and becoming better than you were yesterday. That is what builds resilience. That is what builds confidence. You don't become disciplined by dreaming. You become disciplined by doing, especially when you don't feel like it. The book also tackles the myth of overnight success. We often see the highlight reel, the viral moment, the championship win, the best-selling book. What we don't see are the hundreds of hours of practice, the early mornings, the lonely grind. And that's the magic of focusing on the process. You stop chasing validation and start building identity. You're no longer someone trying to achieve. You become someone who trains, creates, writes, builds. You stop waiting to feel successful and begin acting like the person you want to become. A key takeaway is the power of routines and systems. A goal without a system is just a wish. The process creates structure in your life. It turns chaos into clarity. It makes your actions intentional. For example, instead of saying, "I want to write a book," say, "I will write 500 words every morning at 8 a.m." The shift is subtle, but powerful. Suddenly, your focus isn't on the final manuscript, it's on the next sentence. And when you build systems, you reduce friction. You don't rely on willpower alone. You design your environment, your calendar, your habits in a way that supports your growth. You automate progress. The process becomes your accountability partner. Another powerful idea explored is patience. We live in a world that rewards speed, fast results, fast delivery, fast growth. But meaningful things take time. Relationships, businesses, skills, they grow slowly. Focusing on the process reminds you to be patient with yourself. You stop rushing. You learn to trust the timeline. You stop asking, why isn't it happening yet? And start asking, am I getting better each day? The book also teaches that failure is not the end, it's part of the process. When you focus only on the goal, failure feels like the end of the road. But when you focus on the process, failure becomes feedback. It helps you adjust, refine, and improve. You develop a growth mindset. You understand that every setback is shaping you, preparing you for what's next. One of the most liberating ideas in the book is that you don't have to feel ready to act. You don't have to wait for the perfect plan, the perfect mood, or the perfect timing. You just start. And once you start, momentum builds. When you focus on the process, the resistance fades. You realize that clarity comes from action, not thinking. This mindset also protects your mental health. You stop tying your self-worth to success. You stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. You stop feeling like you're behind. Because when you focus on your process, your journey, you realize there's no race. There's only progress. In the final chapters, the book reminds you that mastery isn't about perfection. It's about devotion. The best performers in any field are not the ones with the most talent, but the ones who stayed committed when others gave up. They fell in love with the boring stuff, the daily grind, the lonely mornings, the unseen effort. That's where greatness is built. So whether your goal is to get in shape, grow a business, write a book, or become your best self, this book gives you a blueprint. Don't chase outcomes. Build systems. Show up daily. Be patient. Learn. Adjust. And most importantly, trust the process. Because the goal might inspire you, but the process is what transforms you.